This video is an example of the preparation of a coloring solution at the hair salon. We need 400 milliliters of the solution. The ratio of peroxide to pigment is 3 to 7. How many milliliters of peroxide do we need, and how many milliliters of pigment do we need? This calculation is done in 3 steps. Step 1 is we need to know how many parts we are preparing, and we get that by adding together the two numbers in our ratio. Three plus 7 equals 10, so we are preparing 10 parts of solution. We need this number 10 in our next step. In step 2, we have to make a proportion. We know that the peroxide is 3/10 of the solution. So we write 3 over 10. And we need to know how many milliliters of peroxide are necessary if the total volume of solution is to be 400 milliliters. We write 3 over 10 equals x over 400. And we can read this translating it into English by saying, if 3 out of 10 parts are peroxide, then how many mils out of 400 mils have to be peroxide? And we solve this with cross multiplication. Bottom times top equals top times bottom. The bottom on the left is 10, the top on the right is x. So I multiply those and I get 10x. At the same time, the top on the left is 3 and the bottom on the right is 400. I multiply those as well. This turns my proportion from 2 fractions into a single line. And I can simplify on the right side. 3 times 400 equals 1200. I have 10x equals 1200. To isolate my variable, I have to divide both sides by 10. Here on the left, these 10s cancel. And that results in my x being isolated on the left side of the equation. 1200 divided by 10 is 120, so I have my answer. I need 120 milliliters of peroxide. But I'm not finished because I also need to know how many milliliters of pigment. So step 3 is to subtract 400 milliliters of solution in total minus 120 milliliters of peroxide is equal to 280 milliliters of pigment. I need 120 milliliters of peroxide and 280 milliliters of pigment in my 400 milliliter solution. In order to do this problem, we have to know the ratio of peroxide to pigment, and we have to know how many milliliters of solution we need. We have 3 steps. Step 1 is to add the two numbers in our ratio to see how many parts we are mixing. Step 2 is to create a proportion and solve it using cross multiplication. And this will tell us the amount we need for one of the ingredients in the solution. And then step 3 is a subtraction that tells us how many milliliters we need of the other ingredient.